Greetings, friends. My name is John Gabriel, and this is the new Calculus channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the first principles method. It's quite comical, actually, because that very mainstream method that is used is actually proof that their calculus is flawed. So I've been on Quora recently and I've been commenting, and I'm pretty sure sooner or later they're going to ban me from that crap site. But in any case, I'd like to show you what's happening here because some of you have called me a narcissist, which obviously I'm not, but you're a moron to think I am. And I'm going to show you how these people have been uh, trying to get me booted off by just simply reporting my comments. So let's begin. Now, I don't seem to be able to shut this, which is quite strange. Seems like my my mouse has gone south. All right, let's see here. Okay, that's good. So now if you look at this page over here, you'll see that I'm constantly appealing this. So this is one of the comments I appealed and they restored it. Thank you for your appeal. We restored your comment. But I get many like this. Your answer violates our policies. Actually, that was similar for this one before I appealed it. But there are many like that. Look here, there's another one here. We restored an answer to this question. And thank you for your appeal. We restored an answer to this question. And again here and again here. So what these, you'll see so many of these here are reported as violating Quora's policies. Of course they're not, but the despicable reptiles such as Professor David Joyce and Professor Jack Hazinga and all the other morons in the mainstream who do not like me or my views constantly report my comments. And of course, the idiots who administer Quora don't realize that there's an active effort to get me booted off Quora again. Not that I care, because I mean, Quora is really a trash heap. But in any case, so one of the things I'm going to focus today is this one here, which was the latest one. So this idiot here, first of all, the question was, my calculus teacher gives me 0 points if we get any part of a question wrong, even if we show work. Is this fair? So, of course, obviously it's not fair, but I didn't even choose to go down that road because I thought, mainstream academics are such morons that what they teach is incomprehensible in any case. So, them marking a student's work is like the blind marking somebody who has excellent eyesight. So this guy here says, fair enough, except for differentiation. And the second one responds, yes, we do not expect any working from them for things like the derivative of x squared equals to 2x unless they're being tested on first principles. So here's my response. See, there's nothing violating Quora principles yet. First principles, chuckle, that is so laughable. Mainstream calculus is flawed and broken beyond repair. The first principle method is exhibit A of the mainstream fraudulent formulation of calculus. And this is a document that I'm going to be talking about today. So let's close this up. And here's a document, which an article which I wrote about, this very topic. So there's this guy called, you can go to this link, Professor Folland. He's retired from Washington State University or some university in Washington. And I'm going to be critiquing a very short part of his article, which you can also find here. His is in the blue text and mine is in the red. And I'll also provide a link to this article. So let's begin. He says, suppose f is differentiable at x equals a. This means that what you have here is true, okay? In other words, he's trying to explain why this claim that he made is true. And then he says where the error term, e of h, tends to 0 as h tends to 0. Well, first of all, this isn't really an error term, okay? He doesn't know that yet, but when my criticism gets more brutal, I explain these things, but I'm humoring him now and going along. So it seems Folland is unsure of whether or not E of H is an actual error term because he has it in quotes. Why does he have it in quotes if he thinks it's an error term? Then he says, multiplying through by H and rearranging a little bit, we have this expression that you see down here where my cursor is, right? So you have that expression. And then he says, here the error term H times E of H. Oh, so now suddenly the error term has gone from E of H to H times E of H. Not only tends to 0 as H tends to 0, it does so even faster than H. Now that is just so absurd. It's just completely insane. So, and I'll explain why. So first of all, one is unsure whether E of H is error term or whether H times E of H is an error term. But in any case, we'll just humor him and pretend that we know what he's talking about, even though it's complete garbage. So if you consider the function x squared with h equals 2, then of course this difference quotient evaluates to 2x plus h, where h is E of H, okay? And H times E of H will be H squared. But the only time that H squared is less than H is if H is less than 1. So it is generally untrue that H times E of H is less than H for any H greater than 1. But Folland is talking about speed. So how he measures the speed is quite a mystery. Does he take fixed intervals and then determine the speed as H times E of H of fixed interval? And if so, his claim is untrue because H over fixed interval tends to 0 faster than H times E of H over a fixed interval. Of course, he's not doing any of that, but I'm trying to make sense of his drivel. Okay. And of course, there isn't any sense to make. And then he says, on the other hand, the tangent line to the graph of f at x equals a is a graph of the linear function, the graph of this function here, or this equation here. But he doesn't explain how to arrive at the second one, because he wants to seem erudite and to obfuscate things, which he's done a pretty good job, because the way to get this expression here is to let x equal to a plus h in this one. Okay, so these two are the same, except that he's done a substitution. And then he says, comparing these two, we see that this is true. No, actually, it's got nothing to do with the comparison of these two, but rather the substitution into this equation here, which is mentioned earlier over here. See, the one that I've highlighted. So he's totally scatterbrained, doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's very sloppy. But I imagine Folland felt so proud of his obfuscated rot that he patted himself on his shoulder. And then finally, he says, we think of the function t as a linear approximation. Actually, no. We, who are intelligent, think of the function t as the equation of the tangent line, not an approximation to anything. Okay? And then he says, and this says that the approximation is a good one in the sense that the error tends to 0 faster than h as h tends to 0. Well, we've already seen that this claim is false from the example given earlier. Okay, but of course Folland is very proud of himself and all snug and smirky. And so the previous critique was the mild version. In other words, I was kind to the moron. But from here onwards, on page 3, I brutally take apart everything he said in his article, okay? And I show you that, mainstream calculus is terribly flawed, and that my geometric identity is proof of this, because E of H is not even the right way to state it, simply because the difference in slope is not always just dependent on H. Sometimes it's also dependent on X. Okay, so it's always dependent on H, but sometimes also on X. And it should have been written as EA of H rather than E of H. So I'll put a link to the article. I don't want to carry on rambling, and you can read why he's such an idiot and why the Church of Academia constantly continue to try and get my websites taken down and persecute me and constantly try to sow doubt about the kind of person that I am. In other words, that I'm a crank and a crackpot, and I have psychological problems, which of course is utter garbage because I've never been diagnosed with anything but depression. And even that, in my opinion, if somebody doesn't have depression, they're not normal. Something is definitely wrong with them. So In any case, that's what I wanted to talk about. Please, if you're not a subscriber, become a subscriber. Now, carefully, if you're already a subscriber and you click on subscribe, that means you're unsubscribing, for those of you who don't know. And spread the news, and obviously download my free articles. Excuse me, I'm out of breath now. And hopefully I'll be talking soon about another interesting topic again, but I really wanted to go over this because this is so important. It's the very thing that mainstream academics hate me for. The fact that I expose their ignorance and their unprecedented stupidity. So, this is a new calculus channel. My name is John Gabriel. Till next time, stay safe and goodbye.